Today's show is amazing. You're going to hear from two female entrepreneurs, Randy Ward and Sarah Bennett. Randy actually runs Alchemy Gov, which is my business development consulting agency. She's the president of that organization. And so she had the opportunity to sit down with one of our student winners, Sarah Bennett, who, after meeting her on TikTok last year, because she was also a fellow content creator, I decided to spend some time with her talking about her industry, her sector, her market, and things that I do. And also, as you know, I don't encourage people to first go after certifications. I want them to learn the marketplace and understand who they're bidding against, understand the competition, understand your business model before you jump in. And so Sarah, I didn't know this, went on to take my advice and successfully won the first bid that she ever submitted, which is for 1.5 million bags. The part about the story that I really love is that, nah, I'm not going to break it for you. Either way, she reached out to the large business. The large business, who was the brand on the RFP, they told her that they were going to also be bidding it and that they would look forward to working with her in the future. She didn't stop there because she had heard an episode of mine that says you can provide equivalent or better, the government will look at that. And so she went out, found another supplier, submitted the bid, and beat out the brand recommendation that was on the actual RFP. So this story is really, really amazing for a host of reasons. And I'm very excited to share it with you today. Looking forward to hearing everybody's feedback. Stay tuned for this amazing upcoming episode of the GovCon Giants podcast with Randy Ward and Sarah Bennett.
Okay, awesome. Well, welcome, Sarah, to our Making of a Giant podcast. We're so excited to have you be with us today. Congratulations again on your win.
Yes.
I know you're here to share your story and to also really inspire those who are longing, right, for that contract. It's like, I've been doing all of this and I'm longing for my contract. So
Right.
thank you again for taking the time out of your very busy schedule, being a business owner of two companies.
Yes.
So we're here just to learn about your journey. So why don't you start from the beginning, a little bit about how did you grow up? Was fitness always your thing? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So like you said, I own a fitness and a food and food supply company. And that transpired, yes, from my youth. I was very active in sports, fell in love with fitness because of that. I also have a very rich history of military service in my family. So that was like health and fitness was always a huge part of our family environment. Both my grandfather served in the Marine Corps, my other in the Army, retired colonel, my dad retired sergeant major. So and we grew up in the DC area. So I just, fitness and then also having that government constant, we always had to live near the White House growing up. So I just had this huge exposure to government and military growing up and fitness. Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. So you've never left the DC area?
I did originally go to college, believe it or not, in Florida for music performance. I'm a cellist. Yeah, I just kind of like the other Sarah. But yeah, I went down there and I just realized that I love performing and it's not something I necessarily want as a career. I love playing music. Music theory classes, history, I just lost interest after that point. So I kept going into fitness after that and started my business in 2001. So it's been 22 years now that I've been in the fitness industry. And I kind of grew over the years, worked in different business gyms. And then in 2008, I went independent and I had two kids. So I had to balance motherhood at the same time. I was owning my businesses at that time. And due to demand of clientele that I had, they wanted to have meal prep services and not the kind of national supply that you have, you order off of a menu that's prefixed. They wanted very customized meals. So because of most of the orders coming in very specific, like medical limitations, religious limitations, fitness preferences for competitions, I've worked with Miss Virginia USA, Miss America has been one of my clients, Miss America 2010 was one of my clients, and just these very specific things, and just saw that it needed to be more for personal chef division. So I shifted over to that. And then as I grew my fitness business, most of my clientele, because of being back in the DC area, was either military or government history, being so close. I mean, that's just so saturated in this area. Like most everybody's either former military or government or both. So
Yes.
and just from working with that kind of clientele and having great results with them, they referred more people who are of that similar nature. So I got really savvy at working with that kind of clientele, and also the really intense lifestyle that is in the DC area. It's very, very cold, very rigid, not very friendly. But once you get to know people, there's
underlying.
yeah, but you know, I've had so many clients say, if you met me on the street, you probably would not like me. So anyways, a lot of those clients were government contractors. So, you know, I got to know my clients really well from working with them, and they would tell me stories. And one client in particular, he was lamenting during one of his fitness sessions about how a lot of the food suppliers and service people that he dealt with, he wasn't a contractor, he was a business that worked with contractors, so in the DC area. And just saying how hard it was to find businesses that actually were very hardworking, who actually followed through. There's just a lot of problems that he was running into.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you've talked a lot about this. Like, what does it take? It's food. I have a food business to be one of those businesses. And he said, oh, you know, you have to be registered in the state for this and that. You have to have a commercial kitchen. I said, you know, check. I have all that. So
right. Okay,
if you need a quality supplier and food service company, I could become one in the government contracting world. So I said, what do I do? He said, just go on SAM. You know, he didn't hold my hand at all. He just directed me, you know. And so I registered.
So Sarah, hold on. Before you go to the, you know, like how you actually got into the government part of the contracting, I'm going to back up a little bit. So when you started transitioning, you know, like you went to school, like you said, you did music theory, right?
Performance.
Music performance. And I saw you went to SEU.
Yes.
Well, you know, we actually have a couple of things in common, because my kids, my daughter actually had some dual credits through SEU. One of the programs we did, they use SEU. So it's pretty cool. We were considering like, should she go? Should that be an option, going to Florida and going to SEU and your music performance? So I see that you've done cello, so you're well-rounded. You do cello and you do bass guitar, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So you kind of grew up, you said you were very athletic, so what sports did you play?
So the main ones were soccer, basketball, and swimming. And you know, as you get older, you kind of have to not specialize, we have to choose.
Yes.
And if my mom ever sees this, it was one of the hardest days of my life. She's like, you're the fourth of 4 kids, and I don't have the time for all these activities. You are involved in music and sports, and you have to choose. And so swimming is what I started doing year round. So I was a butterflyer. That's why I have my broad shoulders. So
okay, all right. Well, I get that because both my kids were in sports and music. So
yeah, good for you. That's a schedule.
Oh my gosh. Talk about a crazy schedule. Lord, yes, absolutely. And speech and debate on top of that.
Oh, wow.
So I get it. So out of your siblings, were you entrepreneurial?
I'm the only that, like, in history of my family.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, and honestly, that's a good point. Actually, I should back up to that. How did that come about?
Yeah.
So I married my high school sweetheart in when I was freshly out of high school, and had my son about a year later. And I wanted to be a homebound mom, you know, but the only way that was possible was to start my own business. So, yeah, I mean, that's really how it started, was to be home with my kids so I could be the stay-at-home mom and the, you know, breadwinner at the same time.
That's awesome. Well, I can definitely attest to that. So I was a background engineering, you know, that was my degree. Worked for 4 years, had my first daughter, and wanted to stay at home. So I transitioned out of the workforce and ended up starting like our homeschool journey. Actually, we started homeschooling, and then I ended up doing
Yeah.
business, entrepreneurial things in order to continue being able to stay at home. So I get that,
Yeah.
So we get creative. We figure it out.
Yeah. And I homeschooled for a little while too, for about 3
Oh,
years.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. To
Yeah.
just give them a very strong foundation,
Yeah. And so I get having to be entrepreneurial. It kind of forces your hand if you don't want to just do, just be at home. So, so with that in mind, you decided to go straight from the music into fitness, because I saw that you worked like at Ladies of America and stuff. I remember those days because I used to have them at Ladies of America.
Curves, yeah.
Oh
Gosh, that like really ages me though.
But that ages me too. So I went with you.
Yeah, I mean, I when I was in college in Florida, I actually worked at a World Gym there. I don't think I have that listed on my LinkedIn because it was just so long ago.
Okay.
But yeah, I worked at a World Gym there and just fell in love with fitness. I actually got into being a personal trainer in 2001 by accident. I went for an interview for a lifeguarding position because that was something I loved doing, obviously swimming. And it was a great college job. And the person didn't show up for my interview. And I was dressed in a suit, a business suit. And the people at the front desk of the gym said, "What are you here for? Like a management position?" I said, "No, for lifeguarding." And they said, "You are way overdressed." I said, "My mom always told me to dress for the position I'm going for, not the one I'm, I'm going to graduate to eventually." So they were so impressed by that. They interviewed me on the spot for a personal training position. So, and they hired me, and I did not even know. They were like, "What is a latissimus dorsi?" I was like, I don't know.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, so did you have okay, you did have a background of you said pre-med biomedical science.
Right. So that's recent.
Oh, that's recent. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Oh, that would be terrible if I didn't know and I had that history. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was asking. I'm wondering, like, so how did they even say, well, yeah, we should definitely, pull as a personal trainer?
They knew that I had a passion and a history of sports. And so they knew, and obviously I was extremely ambitious. So, they saw that potential, and I was, I got a lot of awards for working at that gym too. So, but they took me under their wing, and they really had to mentor me. They, shadowing people on the floor, and then, I should say they hired me as a fitness, I forgot the term they used for it. It wasn't a personal trainer yet. I had to learn the ropes and then get certified a few months later. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So, okay, great. So you transitioned, so then you're like, okay, well, I have this background, and now as a stay-at-home mom, I'm going to put that to work.
Right.
Okay. So what did you do there? Would you go out and find clients, on the days that your husband was available? Like, how did you start building your business, your clientele?
Yeah, so it was a lot of word of mouth, because again, I had that history of being in fitness already before I had kids. And so a lot of word of mouth. The marketing was very different then. I mean, obviously we had the internet, but we didn't have apps or anything then. I was the trainer that showed up. I did a lot of boot camps then with the whistle around my neck and the clipboard and stopwatch, because we didn't have these smartwatches. And so, paper files and everything. So I did a lot of boot camps because I could train a lot of people at once. And but also not work too much to be able to be available for my kids at the same time. And then as they got older and went to school, after I kind of graduated them out of homeschooling, gave them that good foundation, then I started working more hours and slowly increased to, at one point I was working over 80 hours a week training. So yeah.
Yeah, because you have to be at the disposal of your client's schedule. So
right, which is why recently I transitioned to being 100% online, because that way, it actually works out a lot better for the business owner, CEO type clients that I have now, because they're constantly traveling. They don't have to deconflict with schedule. I have software and data analysis that I can use from a distance to help. So, very big transition.
Awesome. Technology is awesome, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're now you're building your business, and you do that, you said, you're doing it for now 22 years. So at what point do you transition, you said, to now the food? Because you're getting in contact, you said, really, you're coming in contact with all of these government contractors or business owners that are touching the government at some point. That's right.
Right. Or people who work for the agencies that
Mhm.
work with the contract. Yeah. So, it's about 2016 is when I created a lettuce meal prep. And I, again, mainly had that towards the, personal chef and custom ordering model. And then I think it was 2020. No. Let me think about it. That's a good question.
Yeah.
When did I register in SAM, or like what? As far as
So you started doing the lettuce meal prep. So who was your clients then? Like, what were you just doing for them? So tell us a little bit about that in 2016, right? So apparently there's a 4-year gap there.
Right.
What did you do within those 4 years? What you were doing for 4 years with that?
Yeah, so the lull in that was in 2016. My high school sweetheart, like I mentioned, we got married, wasn't going so well. We were going through counseling, and I could tell it was probably not going to get resolved. So, in being proactive to know that I need to go from a stay-at-home, homeschooling, working part-time because of the love of fitness, to supporting myself and my kids, I started my meal prep business again from the demand from my clients, but also to support us. So I knew that with my financial situation, working so part-time, I would probably have to feed them PB&J, mac and cheese, probably like ramen noodles at that point. So, to be honest, and I knew with a meal prep company, you always have to cook in excess because you never want to be without. You never want to not have enough for your orders. So I knew that doing that, I would be able to come home with, salmon and flank steak and organic vegetables and all these gorgeous foods, whether they wanted their PB&Js instead or not was to be questioned. But, I was able to give them what they felt like was an upgrade when I was really having a really hard transition. So 2016 August is when I started Lettuce Meal Prep. And then 2017, there's a lot of back and forth through settling with my then husband, because we had been together since I was 17 and we had everything together. We did not know adulthood without each other.
Yes.
And it took a really long time to figure out how to settle everything that we had 100% together built. So that transition in 2017, I had a commercial kitchen that was an hour away. So I would either have to bring my kids with me, or if it were some orders, I had hundreds of orders coming at times, and I would be pulling all nighter. So they'd have to be a family or with their dad. Well, I just, it was just me in the beginning, and eventually I had staff come on. But yeah, some really hard travel and long, no sleep, literally no sleep. And then having to wake up at 4 a.m. I had clients starting at 5 a.m. So very, very tough time. But in that 2017, I found a new home and moved to a new home, and we ended up divorcing December 2017. And in that new year, I had got a new car. I had found a commercial kitchen through a commercial real estate agent that I loved, a build out actually that would be custom to me. Wow. Hired an attorney, I'd gotten blueprints, gave my letter of intent, and everything was ready to go for that. But I think it was Friday the 13th in 2018. Yeah, of all days. I'd never been in a car accident in my life. Totaled my few-week-old car.
Oh my gosh.
On that Monday, I got a call from the house that I had leased. It's again, better house than I had before. Everything was an upgrade. The kitchen, the car, the house. They said, we're moving back. You have 3 months to find a place.
Oh
I hadn't even been there. Hadn't even been there 3 months. And then that Wednesday, I got a call from the landlord that the deal that we had wasn't going to go through. So in less than a week, I had my transportation, my housing, and my workplace, all the rug of that pulled out from under me.
Oh my gosh.
And again, this is my first year as a single mom. Yeah. And I had built all this, and I had to be strong for my kids. Like, I had to make it seem like this was a great opportunity. And I'm not a crier. Anybody who knows me, I don't cry. I cried. Like,
oh my God. I think you had permission to cry.
And I prayed, and
Oh,
again, I had to be strong for my kids, so I just put my head down and worked on finding a new place. And a weird reaction I had, that may be weird to some people, but not common for what most first-year singles do. I got really heavily involved in church. I served on my worship team with a bass guitar. I signed up to be a youth leader for the youth group, and just really immersed myself in service. And I was like, this is just awful. And if I just serve something,
mm,
I've just got to make sure I'm in a good place, because everything around me is not good. So I ended up finding a better car, a better home, a better neighborhood,
awesome.
better schools for my kids, because I had to think about new schools if I'm moving. Better kitchen location by the end of 2008 and 2019 time period. So that was amazing. And I kept building my businesses. Again, I had multiple pickup locations. To have, like, CrossFit was one of my pickup locations, different CrossFit boxes. And then I had a few different locations for supplement stores, where they had the refrigerators there. And I shipped throughout the Virginia area, and really was growing my business. But then COVID hit in 2020, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I had to rethink my business. So that's when I kind of rethought my business model. I was introduced to some amazing clients that made me aware of SAM. So I registered for SAM. I think it was either 2020 or 2021. And then I was exposed to a client who had been in the SBA for over 30 years. Soon after that, through my fitness business, again, that was a really strange coincidence. Again, I think beyond coincidence, but
Yeah.
and then soon after that, I had a client come on who had been in the contracting world for a very long time, very successful business. Like right now, she's actually doing a mentor protege, and she's the mentor. And she gave me a perspective of the contractor side. So I had, large business executive as a client, 30 plus years SBA, who retired from the DC area as a client, and then also government contracting, very seasoned government contractor as a client. So I had all these angles to really understand the contracting world a little bit better, but I was still hesitant. So that's when I picked up Eric's book.
Right,
And thought,
yeah.
I am still lost. I feel like I need help still. So I read through his book, and you guys were, what caused me to make more connections and pull that trigger for actually bidding. Networking is one thing I love about government contracting. And some of the customers that came through, I just hated that I couldn't know them, they were just these names and orders. But yeah, and I had multiple pickup locations throughout the local area that they would have. A lot of them were nutrition stores or CrossFit gyms, and they had refrigerators that had my meals for pickup. So that was the model then, which really, once COVID hit, shifted. Because these gyms are closed, everything's closed. And it really made me rethink both of my business models. And I feel like it's very common for all businesses during that time period. So I had heard of the government contracting, so I decided to register in SAM around that time period. So I think it was actually 2021 when I registered, though. So one of my clients, like I mentioned, who had that, lamenting session with the food services that he had dealt with, the companies. And I kind of put that in my back pocket for a little bit before I actually registered in SAM. And then once I registered in SAM, there was something that really amazing happened, with these, connections. I just feel like they were a huge godsend, honestly, with the people who came into my life during that time period. And one of them, her name is actually Joanne Braxton, and she worked for the SBA for over 30 years. And the DC headquarters is where she retired from. So she's now a contractor, but she has this rich history of working for the SBA and seeing that side of everything. And honestly, if you search her, she's been a part of a lot of the boards who created a lot of the programs that exist now. So very great connection. I had her as a client, just happened to be, again, working together. She was a government contractor in this area for fitness, and was like, it's not just SAM, you should register in the state, you should contact PTAC, SBDC, you should, go into all these different things. And in that process is when I found you guys, because I was doing all this searching.
Right. Okay.
And I found Eric's book, and I think it's called GovCon Launch. Is that correct?
Yep. GovCon
Yep.
launch.
So I read that cover to cover and took notes, and a lot of the things I read in there confirmed and added to what Joanne had told me.
Yeah.
And that was, amazing. And then I started listening to the podcasts. And, at this point, I'm registered in the state, I'm registered federally.
And
And
what year is this? 2020, 2021?
That was probably 2022. Because again, I was just, I was one of those that registered and was like, okay, like I'm obviously thorough in my business. I've been in business for my food business. That was the one I registered since
Right.
2016. So I'm capable of fulfilling these contracts, but I don't know how to navigate the bidding process, everything that's involved in that. And
Right. Yeah.
I know contracting is related a lot to a web. I viewed it more as like a scavenger hunt. Like you get these little clues.
Treasure hunt. Yes.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, well, that clue leads me to this one, to that one. And it's like nothing that you can see in the beginning, and it's unique for each person and each business and what they're, so it was just these little clues that led me again to you guys. And I remember listening to multiple GovCon Giant episodes saying, Eric was saying, don't wait on your designations, which I was at that point going for my WSB, my EDWSB, my kitchens in a hub zone,
Right.
and going through all those, the huge processes for getting those certifications.
Yep.
And he was like, don't wait on certifications, don't wait on certifications. Like you got to just start and take action. And a lot of people just stall too much. I was like, well, I've already stalled long enough. So I saw an RFP come out for, it was 1.5 million breakfast bags for a school nutrition center. And it caught my attention because obviously fitness and nutrition is very dear to me. I have kids, so it really spoke to me with the school nutrition program. I thought, how nice would that be to be a part of the breakfast and lunch for these kids, for that many of them, and to be able to serve them. And it just really spoke to me. So I looked at the different specifications for it, and they had a brand or equivalent listing on there. And so I thought, okay, I'll reach out to this brand that they're talking about and hopefully get a good quote from them. And the brand, they messaged me back so kindly and said, I would love to do business with you in the future, but we're going to be bidding on the same contract.
Right. I was just going to say, they're probably going out.
Yeah. And so I was so discouraged. And I thought, okay, well, they're obviously the preferred brand.
Right.
They're the only brand listed or equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
They're a large company. This does not have any designations tied to it. So I'm going against, I have no preference.
So it's full and open.
It's full and open.
Okay.
And going against all large, whoever. And I thought there's no way that on my first bid would even have a chance to win this. And so I was like, what, I'm going to do some market research. I'm going to give this a chance, and thought about, again, what Eric said, just take action. And I was like, if anything, this is going to be a learning experience.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So I really combed through market research. I no lie, reached out to over 20 companies to get the best pricing for this, the specific plastics for these bags that were involved in this contract. So I found a lot of really good quotes, but one of them really stood out. And it was the exact, the thickness, the dimensions, everything. Found printing, because these bags need a very specific printing for breakfast school themed designs on it too. Okay. So really heavily communicated, because I know I heard this in the podcast episodes, to make sure you deliver exactly what they want, how they want it, and when they want it. Exactly. And no deviance. And so I really communicated, this is when they need it, this is exactly what they want, and so they confirmed that that's exactly what the quote was stating, because it was lower than I expected, right? So but they gave me a really good bidding power. So I took that, and I remember being really nervous before I hit that button to submit it. And yeah, so I submitted my bid and thought, okay, well, that was a good action. I didn't forget about it, but I thought, I'm not going to hear from them for sure, right? And then the next day, I was actually in my commercial kitchen, and I have a prep area, like a kitchen prep area, and then I also have a separate office area. So I was just there picking up some things quickly. So I left my phone in the car. And this is, I don't know if anybody's like heard this tip before, but make sure you have a watch that connects to your phone. Because if I wouldn't have
I
had
can
that, I
totally
might have
call.
missed, yeah, I might have missed the call
Mhm.
because it goes to the lowest, most responsive and responsible bidder, and I wouldn't have been responsive. So I see the phone call coming through my watch, and I'm, James Bonding it in the middle of trying to go through, mail in my office, and answered because I saw the nutrition center, and they said, we are considering your bid, but we need a little bit more information, which is a great sign.
Mhm.
And we need to have a vector file sent for the 2 different designs that we're asking for, which it's strange. I uploaded files. They weren't vector files into the system, but like, I don't know if you've experienced this before, but sometimes the systems just don't work the way they're supposed to. So
Yes, that may be the case.
yeah, the attachments, I attached them, but apparently they didn't go through. So she asked for them again, but specifically for vector files, which that wasn't in the RFP.
Okay.
So I'm like, well, what kind of vector file? But I don't want to ask too many questions at the same time.
Don't
So
rock the boat. You're like,
yeah, right. So I looked up what kind of vector file is best for print designs. And I looked up how to shift that design over, and I am no graphic artist.
right. You're like, what am I supposed to be doing now? Let's do
Right.
you right now. Okay.
Yeah, I'm no graphic artist, but she needs this like now, and I don't have time to find a graphic artist. So I'm going to be a graphic artist for a day. So I searched also how to what the best like studio office for that would be, and I came across Adobe Illustrator, downloaded that, and thank God I have an artistic background with music and all that. I was able, it was actually kind of fun to
use the creative side of the brain there.
yeah to convert the design over to that vector file and get everything filled in the way it was supposed to. And fingers crossed, submitted it, and I was like, I hope this is the kind of vector file that they need. And she's like, oh, it's perfect, it's great. So got back to me and called and said, congratulations, you won. And
so the process took how long?
So I submitted it on I think it was a Wednesday. She called on a Thursday for the vector file and then awarded it on that Friday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because they needed it pretty quickly. So
apparently, okay.
Yeah. So
and you said there was a breakfast item. So was it an actual, like you would need to come in and pack the food for this?
No, for this, it was just the bags with the print.
Okay.
Design. They needed a school breakfast theme design for half of them, and then a school lunch theme for the other half.
Okay, so it's just the packaging this time around.
Right.
So are you able to share the name of the agency that you won through?
So yeah, it's the Norfolk Nutrition Center. So yeah.
Okay, well, awesome. That is, I tell you what, it's like when your heart starts pounding and you're like, you get that call, you're like, really? Okay, sure. All right. You like, whatever I need to do, right? Bend over backwards. I got to get it done.
Right.
That way you're not like, I don't want you to go to the next person at all. Right. So,
right. So I remember in that moment just thinking, okay, that was the first time I've ever bid on a contract. I won it as a prime for 1.5 million breakfast bags against a preferred brand without designation. And I was just,
there you go.
Yeah,
you don't have to have certifications, right?
Right.
Certifications. It is not necessary. So everybody, you hear that, right? You don't have to have the certifications. It's like, that's the biggest lie that floats around. If you're going to be a small business or a minority owned business or whatever, go get your certifications. For what? First, let me prove that I can do the work. And then when, they're telling me, oh, I wish you really had this so I could just sole source you or whatever, then okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's what I thought. I thought it would be, easier that way, but I just I listened to what I had heard from you guys from the podcasts, and decided to take a shot at it, and I won. And it was this David and Goliath moment, because I knew that other company that was a preferred brand I was going head to head against, and it was just unbelievable. Yeah.
And how large is your contract?
So that one was a little under $100,000.
Okay, awesome. We'll take it, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so cool. It's like, okay, where's the next thing? Where's the next one?
Yeah, it gave me a lot of confidence. It really did. Yep.
Yes, absolutely. It gives you the confidence to move to the next thing. So I want to back up a little bit. I was taking some notes.
Mhm.
So how large is your team that works with you with your lettuce meal prep company?
So I do most of the work at this point. I like to run lean, just because it
Okay.
gives me a lot better bid power that way.
Oh yeah.
But I also do have staff that are, personal chefs for the actual food prep version of the contract. So if there's anything that comes along that needs actual food preparation, I have staff for that. I also have really good, not direct employment through me, but there's 2 other local kitchens that have staff that are on board if I get a very, very large contract to be able to handle that.
Okay, that's good for us to share with the audience, right? Because the people that's going to be listening to this, you never know when they may need a teaming partner, right?
Mhm.
So we want to share, like how fast can you ramp up? What size project can you take on?
Yeah.
So could you share a little bit with the audience about that? Like if you were to have an opportunity come to you,
Mhm.
what's the max number of meals can you provide, or just give us some parameters on that?
Right. So the meals volume really depends on the kinds of meals. So if it's like hot meals, those take a little bit longer for preparation because, as guidelines like Serve Safe guidelines, the whole processing, cooking,
Yeah.
temperature, transit, all that stuff is very meticulous. So, but the sandwiches and the wraps, the salads, those are a lot quicker to prep. So it really depends on what that food contract would be, whether it's hot foods or those more sandwich ones, convenience foods. But as far as the manpower, again, there's myself and a few personal chefs, and then I also have, it's probably about 20 total of the combined with the 2 other kitchens for having to be able to supply a larger contract. So and again, I've already spoke with them, and one of them, he's actually does government contracting as well, but he's a physician.
Oh,
And so he's very familiar with contracting already, but he goes after more like I know he's done service with the like jail service for providing services for the physicians for the inmates at the jails and things like
okay.
that. So, yeah.
So have you how have you been marketing, or have you done, like, you said you've read the book and done all your, been listening to podcasts and so forth.
Mhm.
Have you been following through like those initial steps of doing a TML, getting your target market list? Like, did you follow some of those, or have you already done some of that? So you're now marketing specifically to certain agencies. Where are you in that?
I really like marketing face to face. So I have reached out to a few, but I like recently I went to a networking event in DC. It was actually at the Kennedy Center at the rooftop on the Kennedy Center. And
How about that event?
what'd you say?
I know about that event.
Oh, okay. Have you? Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's just really nice. So I went there I think it was 3 months ago, and shook a lot of hands, had my capability statements with me, my cards with me. So I have all that prepared and made a lot of face-to-face contacts. Again, I really love meeting people. I love hearing people's stories. I feel like it creates a lot better bonding that way.
Yeah.
And again, I know from listening to these podcasts that you guys encourage always creating those organic face-to-face connections. I know that Eric talks a lot about how people don't usually reach that social element, whether it's being on LinkedIn or going to conferences or networking events, that a lot of people just don't do that. So I took that to heart, and I've been showing up at networking events.
And the great thing about you living in the DC area, there is so much going on. Like, you can stay busy networking, in that DC Metroplex, because everything is there. All of the happenings is there, right? So being local, that's such an advantage. So as all of us who's out here, the other parts of the US, we've got to make our way to DC or wherever else they're having these events. So
Yeah,
a lot of opportunities there for sure.
yeah, and a lot of these organizations that I've joined, like the SBDC. I found out about that networking event in DC at the Kennedy Center through my PTAC.
Oh, okay.
And I've also joined the DC the Women Business Center, DCWBC. There you go.
Okay.
Yep. So I've joined a lot of these organizations, and I've attended a lot of webinars on top of that to reach that connection and networking.
So who's your target market with the agencies? Who buys your service?
So a lot of DoD contracts. So again, it's not just food service and those ready-made foods, but it's also food supplies.
Okay.
So like there's actually a distribution center in Virginia that has a lot of contracts that come out for food supply. So they're huge in this area.
Okay. Right. I'm sure with all of the military, everything
Right.
there, yes, you've got a lot to do there. Okay, so where do you see yourself growing? Like how do you see yourself, let's say a year from now, 5 years from now? What do you see for lettuce, meal prep, and then also even your fitness? So do you see your fitness I don't even know if there are opportunities for that. Have you looked to see if there are opportunities?
Yeah, I do. I think we all like search and find some fun things that, either are, I don't know, just interesting to us that pop up for proposals and things like that. So I have thought about registering my fitness business. Obviously, I've had that since 2008. I mean, it's perfectly capable of doing that one as well. But as far as the future, I really do have a mission oriented where all these align. So my fitness business, my food and food supply business, and then also my biomedical science education coming together. So I really want to work with schools, with hospitals, and military to bring healthier foods, healthier food supplies, and more fit environments for our military, for our hospitals, for our school systems. There's a huge chasm for that. I mean, not only from seeing that from being a daughter of military history, from having kids of my own, and from going through, college education and being in those universities as well. It's just, there's a lot of progress that's been made, but I would love to be a champion for all that.
Okay, that's awesome. So with your biomedical science background, how do you put that to work with the working out and fitness? Like, does that just help you fine tune the workouts
well, it's more like, okay, so over COVID, it's backing up a little bit towards that is when I decided to go back to school for biomedical science.
Okay.
It's actually a pre-med major. So I just saw again this rift between fitness professionals and healthcare professionals. Like healthcare professionals are really focused on treatment and prescription, and then fitness professionals are focused on prevention more so, but they don't have the education that these healthcare providers have. So I really wanted to go back to get more medical edge for that fitness, so that when I am working in those hospital environments and government environments, so I have a lot more medical education. So, and I've been through labs, I've been through clinicals to gain a lot of knowledge, to know better depth behind the ties between fitness and medicine. So I'm very excited. Obviously, probably my tone of my voice changed a little bit on this. Very passionate about that. And there's a new rising of something called lifestyle medicine. And
I saw your post on that.
Yeah. And it's really been like Harvard Medical School is the one that's really been promoting it, I feel like the most of all the universities. And they've really, again, also seen this rift between the fitness world and, different healthcare professionals, and just kind of trying to bridge that gap so that people are treated with, exercise, with nutrition, with sleep, with stress management, with social connections, all these things that, help them to have a healthier lifestyle. So, my government contracting business is a huge part of that, because again, I want to have that as a champion for the nation. And with my family history, I feel like, I didn't get to serve in the military, but this is my way of serving the country in a different perspective. And I just think that's really exciting.
Whole person, right? looking at the whole person.
Yeah.
It's so not right now our medical system, very reactive versus proactive.
Right.
That there's definitely a need. Maybe there's a way you can get into the VA, and
Yeah.
team up with an SDVOSB and
Yeah, so honestly, I have a client who is exactly that. She actually is retired a general in the Air
Awesome.
Force. Yeah, so strong woman.
yeah.
And she's working on her PhD right now, and she is government contracting. She and her husband own an IT government contracting business, and they're exactly that designation. So.
So how do you market to your clientels to get your fitness clientele? Is it that again just word of mouth right now, or is there other means?
Yeah, it's word of mouth. I mean, I've been doing this for so long.
Right.
I've honestly tried not to advertise for that because I've kept a full schedule. I think I mentioned at one point I worked over 80 hours at one point, and it was just I got overuse injuries from training people.
Yeah. Wow.
So I had to really pull back from my schedule because of that. It was wearing my body out, and plus, business owners they're conflicting with schedules. They're traveling all the time, and I was like, there's a real need for this being more of a customization that people can take with them and use from any part in the world. So that's what I have now, and I don't advertise. Because of again the word.
Now you are.
Well, yeah, I guess so, but it's just
Awesome.
I don't know. Fitness is my passion, though.
Yes,
I don't feel like
tell. I know it is.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
A little bit. I'm curious. So talk a little bit about the whole customization. You use technology. They're traveling. You've gone remote.
Mm-hmm.
How do you customize their fitness? Like what do you do for them?
So I have an app. I have a custom app that does a lot of data analysis. So I can, depending on people's goals, use data to predict what progress they're going to be making ahead of time. So there's no guessing in that.
Nice.
And they're all, again, custom workouts. A lot of apps are like, you pick from this library, all the workouts I hand customize and taking in all their medical limitations and everything like that. So I had a client message me yesterday. He was in transit. He got grounded because of weather. And he asked me on the spot, can you change my programming because I'm grounded and my schedule has changed? So I could just do that. He has it now with him to use at one of the lounges at the airport for using the fitness center there. So, so that customization is through my software that I use through my app. And then I also have that personal chef option through my my meal prep business, so that I can find personal chefs for people where they're at to give them that personalization again, not ordering from a menu. So yeah, I mean it's really technology and software. I'm really big on using AI and helping that really direct people so that they have very, very clear wherever they're at. Programming for fitness, programming for nutrition, and I'm actually partnering with someone who does labs to help create custom vitamins. So that's a little pre-announcement there. I haven't announced that officially yet. So yeah, it's just the whole package, and then really that's what business owners need. So that's where that's out now. So yeah.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so I saw like on your LinkedIn, one of the things that you were doing join you for the live food prep.
Yeah.
So how many meals did you prep in that one time? In 10 minutes. I think you showed in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I actually did it in 8, but you could do it in 5. I was like talking the whole time. So, yeah. So it was for 7 days, 6 meals a day. So 42 meals. Yeah.
6 meals a day. So you do have them do the little meals throughout the day.
Yeah. It's the thermic effect of food. It affects your metabolism. So yeah.
Not like us that sit behind the desk and eating like whatever I find whenever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a lot of the programming that I have now, the methodology that I use. and I'm sure if you're on my LinkedIn, you saw this, is I have a methodology that actually, usually fitness takes time from people, meal prepping takes time from people. I have a system that it not only doesn't take time, but actually gives time back to your schedule. So it's actually incorporated within your workday, and having, either doing a prep that's in 5 minutes for an entire week, or having a personal chef do it for you. So you actually gain time back, and you can save money, because a lot of these businesses, since I'm a corporate fitness contractor now, they can actually either use it as a tax write-off, or they can W-9 me. So it actually helps.
I saw that. I saw you had a post on that talking about how you can use it for a tax write-off.
Yeah, CPA informed. I mean, again, that's not
right. You're not a CPA.
Yeah, I'm not a CPA, but I have had clients who talk to their CPA, and they were able to, obviously legally have it as a tax deduction because it's for their business. So at one point, I don't know if you're familiar with CGI Federal. I worked with the entire HR department in Tyson's Corner area, and that was obviously a corporate benefit.
Yeah, I saw some of your posts on those things. So that's awesome. Getting creative, and I like the niche, the busy business owner. I mean, because that's what happens, right? We're so busy. We don't stop to take the time to care for ourselves like we should. So it's pretty amazing if you could put it all into our 16-hour days of whatever we're doing, right?
Yeah. And business owners, I feel like, care more than anyone about time, because we love to delegate, we love to leverage. And how do you do that with fitness and nutrition? So that's really the answer that I provide. But I'm just really excited to be in this government contracting space now, and winning contracts, and that first contract was so exciting. Oh, I didn't mention so I got that contract January 25th of this year.
Oh, January 25th. Okay.
Yep, and I fulfilled it by February 27th. So
yeah,
it was a very quick turnaround, and I just, once you get the contract, you're like, oh, okay, now I have to fill it.
Done.
0.5 million bags is a lot. Is printing going to go wrong? Is all these, logistics? I had to coordinate shipping, delivery for product-based businesses. You have to have a delivery window to the place because they don't have trucks backed up. So coordinated all that. And then, just a month later, fulfilled.
All right. So you should have an amazing CPARS, right?
Hopefully. Yeah.
Like, now can you just keep getting the contracts coming? Like, let's get this ball rolling. So have you been in contact with them to see what else they've got coming out?
I saw one that was, it was a larger contract that had more moving parts to it. And again, I didn't feel comfortable bidding on that one because I had more things that weren't food related on it. So I was like, I really want to stay within my, they did have a bag portion of that one too. So I was like, I obviously have a great person for this.
I'm ready on that one. Right.
Right. But it was, I thought about it, but I thought, I'm gonna wait on this one and maybe next time. But obviously I have a really good relationship with them. I did bid on 4 of the contracts since then, and 2 of them I came in second best bid. So I know I'm very competitive. So that's exciting.
And you're getting debriefs? They're giving you're asking for debriefs?
Yes. One of them actually, one of the 4, I was like, I feel like it was a really strong bid, right? And they got back to me and they said, actually, the buyer decided to withdraw it. So I don't know how often that happens, but
funding might have.
I don't know. Right.
Okay. Well, that end user just decided that was not what they just needed anymore. You never know.
Yeah, but she did confirm what you offered is matched exactly what they were asking for. They just decided not to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So are you looking for your opportunities on SAM, or are you?
So I'm looking at SAM. I'm also looking at EVA for state and federal.
Okay. So you're going to be doing all of it.
Yeah.
All right. Open up all those opportunities as much as possible. Okay. So, there's the Unison Marketplace as well.
Right.
And of course, once you do like your target market list, there's probably agencies in there that you can knock their doors, and you can literally go walk to their offices since you're right there.
I know. Yeah.
The
I
awesome,
would love to, honestly. I love meeting
it's the
people.
awesome part,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So, and some of them are opening back up where they're allowing people to come to their office. So that's a great thing.
Hmm. Yeah, and if there's ever an option to meet someone virtually, if they're in the DC area versus in person, I will always opt for in person, even though the traffic is awful here. So
Yes. Been to DC multiple times. Yes.
yeah, it's like you might as well just get a place to stay in DC if you're, gonna be.
You're traveling back and forth, and yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I saw you graduated from Woodbridge High School.
Mhm.
I have been to Woodbridge many a day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my old boss lived in Woodbridge, so we would come out there to do trainings and conferences and so on. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a huge school. I mean, my graduating class was over 1,000 people. So yeah. Mhm.
Well,
It's this area. You're just.
it is that area that is
Yeah.
true. Woodbridge is saturated
Mhm.
with DC people.
It is.
DC people. So okay, so what's next for Sarah? As we start wrapping up, what's next for you?
What's next? I am obviously chasing more contracts. I know my next one is on the cusp from winning my first
Yes.
one the first try, and then having two that I came super close, but not good enough. But at least I was second.
Yeah.
And honestly, the other ones were right in the middle, so I know that I'm right there for being competitive with my bids. It's not like I have this weird, like, this outlier of a bid.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm excited to get my next win with that. I already have my bottle of champagne in the refrigerator
Really?
top. Champagne moment. And for my online fitness business, just keep growing that, and again, reaching more business owners. Again,
Yeah.
that's my niche now. And then really I would love to get more into the lifestyle medicine with the biomedical science, making more connections. I think you mentioned seeing the video I posted. I attended a fireside chat with Harvard Medical School.
Yeah, I
I
saw
would love to
that.
get involved with a lot of the medical schools and just let them know I am a fitness professional with a background in biomedical science, and I'd love to be a huge part of this lifestyle medicine, because they want every facet of healthcare being in there. So whether it's chiropractors,
Yeah.
people in fitness, people who are physicians, anything to just work together as a whole, like you said, whole health system. So
Yeah. So is that, and I meant to ask you, is this like more of the homeopathic, naturopathic type flow for
Yeah.
medicine, or is it still conventional, but just really looking at the whole person?
Yeah, it's still conventional. Like I feel like some of the homeopathic things are just not as effective, and I feel like that's still more of like a treatment thing.
Mhm.
I've been to a lot of the continuing education things on using spices for healing. I do believe in that, but I also think that there's a lot of things that are underrated that we have not focused on as much. And obviously, fitness and nutrition, workout, eat right is like. Everybody knows that,
Mhm.
but sleep, people don't talk about the importance of sleep and sleep hygiene. So social networks and how socialization actually helps with a lot of health problems, not just anxiety and depression, but actually with physical manifestations of those health problems. And having the risky substances is in there too, but I feel like that one's a little bit more obvious as well.
Right.
So just focusing on all those different aspects, I feel like is important, but again, a little bit more on the conventional, because I mean, certainly I've taken plenty of chemistry and lab classes to know that these elements together are effective for this. And I think that's the direction I'm going with, kind of mixing them two together, because they've all been a little bit separate with separate components, and just giving them all together for, again, the hospitals, the universities, the government, with the military. I would love to be a huge part of that. The VA, honestly, that's on my radar, as you mentioned, which
Yes,
would you love to work with. I feel like, and this is coming from my client who is the general, again, who is a government contractor. She was so sweet. She asked me to send an email to the VA and to tag her on it because she has such an authority in the military, so she said, you just have a very unique background, that you're not just food and food supply, but you also have a very rich fitness and military history in your family, and I think they would really love that. So
Well, if you can get somebody like her to be your the champion for you, that becomes that's heavyweight.
right. And that's one thing I love, I guess, with I
Mm.
know the fitness and the meal prep doesn't seem kind of separate, because I've had so many government contracting or people who work for agencies or military as clients. They are really great referrals for these things, because they see my work ethic, they know my passion, my education and everything, and they definitely attest for me in that. So that was really, really kind of her. She's offered to go to networking events with me and introduce me to people.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
she
Like,
definitely believes in me.
that's worth its weight in gold.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So absolutely. I know you can utilize that as needed. I guess what advice would you give to people that's out there just, and they're having a hard time in light of your story?
Oh gosh. I mean, personally, I believe in really putting yourself into giving high value, giving service. As counterintuitive as that seems, it is where you can really find your place and find connections. Networking was really the key to me being able to make the steps forward that I was able to. And then not being afraid, because again, my first contract that I bid on was against a preferred brand. It did not have any designations to it. Really, I felt like I had no business bidding on it, in a way, because I didn't have preference, I would think, but because I was experienced, because I was able to put together a very well thought out contract and I was capable of fulfilling it and improving that, then I actually won it. So definitely don't be afraid. Put yourself in service. Follow the tips that Eric has in his books, like take notes because they work.
Uh-huh.
So that's the advice I would give.
So, well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. It's exciting, and I hope it inspires others that they can win as well. But not only that, they can grow a successful business, right?
Right.
It requires the hard work, the effort, the passion. We've got to plow through and do what we have to do, even when we don't want to do it some days. But there's success on the other side of that hard work. So congratulations again on such an awesome win. And we'll look forward to hearing about your next one and your next one, and your next one, right? Yeah. So we'll be excited. We're excited for you. And so thanks again for coming and joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. And again, thank you so much for all you do. You were the inspiration behind me going after that contract. And I can thank you for helping me win it.
Oh, you're welcome. Eric will be excited to, he can't wait to hear the story. So thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your evening with your kiddos and your family.
Thank you so much. You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.